Welcome to Simply Business. I'm your host, Taylor Lee, and I'm so excited to have you here. As a business consultant, I've helped countless business owners simplify their strategies and achieve their goals, and now I'm here to bring you this expertise right to your ears. Each episode, I'll be sharing tips and strategies to help you achieve your business goals without the overwhelm. I will also be chatting with business owners and industry experts to share their stories, insights, and lessons they've learned along the way. Let's dive in and simplify your business. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Simply Business. Today, I'm joined by one of my bestie gals, Tori. Welcome to the podcast yet again.
I was going to say, thanks for having me back.
I feel like this one's going to be different though, because I feel like the last one was like a collab kind of a vibe, and now I've got you on to share Tori's story, if you will.
No pun intended.
I love it. I'm so excited for today's episode. I was really thinking about what I wanted Tori to speak on, and we've done the conversation around socials. And for me, being a friend of yours and knowing your journey and like your athletic career background and how that's translated into your life, I feel like that's not something that's really spoken about too much online.
I feel like because it isn't a part of my life anymore.
Yeah.
I definitely speak to it in terms of relating it to being an elite athlete and all the things, but I would say I speak to it every now and then on YouTube and the podcast, but it's not something I actively speak about on socials unless it's kind of, I started to dabble in posting about post-retirement blues, I guess you would call it, which did have a lot of people relating to. So I feel like I do still want to share more of it, because I feel like as well, my audience don't know me as an athlete because I restarted my socials. Well, I got hacked, so had no choice. In 2022 when I moved to the Gold Coast, Instagram was hacked and I started again. So I feel like, yes, there are people from way back when, but a lot of my audience is new and they don't really know anything from before 20. Some people are from Adelaide back in the day, but yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people don't know I was an acrobat.
Yeah, and even like your childhood as well. Like I feel like that's been something, even especially in the past few months, that I like learn more and more about you, because I feel like in adult friendships, like your younger friendships, you kind of like grow together and you know dynamics of like family and all of the things. Even our conversation yesterday as well. It's like true, like, and I truly believe that's shaped who you are massively with your independence, your resilience, and who you are.
Completely.
Before we dive into the conversation though.
Yes.
You're walking into the boxing ring of life, your unfuckwithable moment.
Okay. So I actually have two.
Yeah.
So just bear with me, everyone. This song is a remix. I don't know where it's from, but I used it as a reel when I did Turf Games. And I was almost just going to play like just the song, not the remix version. But then I re-listened to it and I was like, no, this is my song. So I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
It's a bit of Rihanna. It's a bit like grungy. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like that's a good representation.
And I love me some Rihanna.
Yeah, Riri.
But then I have Beyonce, because like, love me Beyonce. Beyonce, Rihanna is just like my vibe. This song, it's live version. Let me give her a fast forward.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, so you probably know the normal version, but the live version just hits a little different.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's giving, picture this, you're at a boxing like event for life, and then like she's singing.
Yes,
like
exactly.
Live.
And I'm walking out and the crowd's like, Tori story. Yeah. That's what I'm picturing.
She's meant to be a performer, everybody.
Yeah. I kind of live on the stage, but anyway.
Yeah, anywho.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like that's a good representation of who you are.
Definitely.
I died when there was one episode on your Raw Reality podcast and you and Lil were like, I think it was about like the Super Bowl performance. And you're like, that is like me. And I'm like, the way I just don't relate to anything.
Really?
No, I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
I'm not on a stage like floating down where you would just be like, yeah,
like put me on a floating sparkly globe coming from the roof in front of 100,000 people.
Yeah. Photoshop her on.
So yeah.
I love it. Well, Tori's story, everybody. This is her.
Yes, this is me.
Cutting into as well, my next question for you as a bit of an icebreaker. This can be business related or it can be life related, but biggest challenge that you have navigated in life, in business thus far, but more importantly, the biggest lesson that you've extracted from that?
Ooh. Okay. Can I speak to a few?
Yeah.
So the first one I would say is like through life and childhood would be my parents' divorce. I was so young, I was 3 and instantly moved interstate. So my dad was in Perth, mum was in Melbourne, or we were in Melbourne. And obviously being so young, you don't understand, you're kind of just angry. And I had a lot of anger. Looking back, I can see it as anger as, you know, from 3 years old to like probably early teens, where I just was like, my mum and I would fight and scream at each other. And I just like, I wanted a normal childhood. That's all I wanted. And to then go to school and then see probably 90% of my friends just have mum and dad at home and their brother and sister. Like it was just me and mum. And like I would see dad once a year because Perth is so far away. It's expensive. I was training. So to get there is a lot of work. It's a lot of expenses. But I would fly over by myself since the age of 5, every single year, maybe twice a year if I was lucky. And I just had so much resentment to like other kids and other friends that just had that family environment. So that was something I always craved and struggled with for a long time. But with that, obviously it teaches you independence. My mum taught me so much on, she never needed a man in her life. Of course she wants one, but has never needed one. And just being like a strong, independent woman, I feel like I've learnt so much from my mum in that aspect. And then also navigating, you know, building relationships that aren't in the same state and like making sure I'm staying close with my family overseas, interstate in Perth and like checking in and stuff. So I definitely think you learn a lot. And now being the person I am, I only ever look at like the positives and what I'm learning. Like nothing's ever regretful or a failure. Like I just don't believe in that. And then fast forwarding a little bit from there, I would say my next biggest challenge just in life was my retirement through acro, which was kind of like a year period of I finished up Worlds, which was like my ultimate goal, got really, really sick and gained heaps of weight, started dealing with cystic acne, went through a breakup after 6 years, and just everything spiraled. It was like my life flipped completely upside down in a matter of weeks. Didn't know who I was. And that was a full year of figuring life out, being a different person, I would say. And then going back to competing, doing one more comp before my body just like completely shut down. And so then navigating, like I speak about a fair bit, is the identity crisis of being an athlete and then stepping away from the sport that, especially when you're not ready or you don't want to, was really hard to deal with. And then also on top of that, being in a place of 10 kilos overweight, cystic acne, suicidal, like there was a lot stacked into 6 months. And so then honestly, the next year was such a blur. Like I don't really know what I did. I dropped out of school in year 10, which was a little bit before this, because I just wanted to focus on training. So I feel like from when I was just about 19 to late 20, nearly 21 was just like, what am I doing? What is life? I dropped out of school for this passion of sport and competing, and now it's been ripped away from me because my body's just shut down. Thankfully met my partner Jackson, who quite literally saved my life in honestly every single way possible. And then from, when I met him when I was nearly 21, everything's just like looked up from there. But it was just navigating like the hardest, like losing yourself is just something you can't even explain. I think like I just was in this deep dark hole. Like I said, I was suicidal. I lost my passion. I'd lost my boyfriend at the time. My mum was in a really shitty relationship and I hated her partner and he treated me like absolute shit. And then I have surgery because I had to get my appendix out, and then my mum left for 6 weeks. And like there was just a lot going on. I didn't feel supported in any area. I just was like alone and had no idea. I didn't know who I was. So just like navigating that as an 18-year-old and 19-year-old, like how do you even do that on your own, let alone with no support almost?
Yeah.
And it's something my mum and I speak about all the time, and she like regrets so much how she wasn't there for me and like didn't realize how, like I don't think anyone realized how bad I was. And so I give myself credit for like picking myself up and being like, again, having that vision of, you know, I'm not going to go step out on a stage in front of 100,000 people floating from the sky, but like just having that vision of like, there is more than this to my life. I'm meant for more. I can't just stay in this hole. And I think that's what always got me out was like the future picture of like, I'm born for more than this. And that was just like I was just like slowly digging out of this hole.
Yeah.
So I would say they're my two like biggest challenges.
Yeah. And it's pretty fucking wild. Like I think even as well when you meet someone at a certain stage of life. Like we both met each other at a different stage in life with like
Yep.
what I've navigated and what you've navigated. Like you wouldn't actually know, right? It's like,
Yep.
no, this is just Tori and like this is her life. And I think especially being someone online, it can be so easy for people to assume like she's got the life and she's got the dog, the partner, the house, the this. And it's like knowing you and then even like getting to know you even more. It's like, yeah, holy shit, like that was your life. Like you were getting on a plane by yourself as a 5-year-old. Like
Yeah.
even that in itself, like plus everything else. I think even, you know, when your mum spoke at your event and things like that. I'm like, yeah, true.
Like she holds so much trauma and so much emotion. Like I feel like I've pretty well navigated and kind of come to terms with a lot of stuff. I don't think a lot of people who were in either my past or my present, being like my mum, have kind of processed everything that happened. I feel like I've done so much processing with psychologists, naturopaths, acupuncturists, kinesiology. Like I've done so much work, and that's why I am in the position that I am and kind of can move forward being this happy, bubbly, because I've just built it from the ground up almost.
Literally. And that's what like, yeah, it's frustrating with the online space because we can always have those assumptions looking from the outside in, whether it's you, whether it's someone else, that it's like it's easier for them or whatever it might be, but you actually turned a really shitty situation into being the thing that's been able to allow you to literally create this life, and you've leveraged that in the most healthy way possible, which I love. And of course, there's always going to be moments where, you know, there's shit that comes up, but it's like actually the thing that's made you who you are. I'd love to unpack that more from like someone that potentially is in a position where it feels like they want to build their socials, they want to build a brand and they don't know what to tap into, or maybe they're at a stage where they can relate to that phase where it's like, I feel fucking lost, I have no idea who I am. What advice do you have to that person that's like, okay, how am I getting out of this? How am I finding clarity around who I actually am to then build from there? Because I think a lot of people try and skip to step 5 when they need to start at step 1.
Yeah. I would say my biggest thing, and as always, like I always talk from experience, but I was like, I need to find a purpose and a passion, because without that, like if you don't have a why, I don't believe you're going to work to your potential or do the things that you're meant to do, because you're just going to be like a little lost puppy constantly. Yeah. So I think trying to figure out your why and your passion and your purpose, and that's going to come from trial and error. Like that was me moving to Hobart for 2 months to take on this job by myself at 19 to figure out, okay, like I love change, I love traveling, like, but I hated this and I hated that. It's like literally trial and error. And then I was living with my auntie because I had troubles with my parents at the time. And so it was like constantly figuring out what was working for me, what wasn't, was trying different styles of training, different nutrition, like literally everything from nutrition and training to lifestyle and business and career, to then moving to Adelaide and like slowly just figuring it out. And having, for me, Jackson came to my life at a very pivotal point of, he had so much passion and drive and purpose, and beneath everything I was going through, there was all of that drive. I've always been a driven athlete and like had such like zest for life, but through this period there was like nothing, like I was just numb almost. And so digging back underneath all that crap was me going, okay, like there is drive to like succeed and do things. And something I was always passionate about was taking photos. As a kid, I would take photos of everything. I would keep every single photo anyone gave to me. And I found this like passion in like taking photos and like creating content. In school, I loved editing videos and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, like maybe like we just like see what happens. And so I actually released like my first, I always dabbled in like Instagram through school, but didn't really realize it could come a job, as like most don't, early stages of socials. And then I remember I released my first YouTube video, literally was like, Tori story, this is my story basically. And I just sat down and like unleashed the whole entire journey. And I felt like I had the world lift off my shoulders, like being able to be vulnerable and authentic. I don't know where the balls came from for me to do that, but I just was like, I'm sick of feeling alone, and I think there's other people in this world feeling this way. And the second I published that video, I was like, oh, like I can breathe. Like I'm not having to like navigate this on my own anymore. Even though like I wasn't directly speaking to someone, I just knew that it would help someone, that they would also help me in a way. And then from there, I just realized like how much I loved being authentic and just like sharing my story. And I would say if you're wanting to create a personal brand with a community, your biggest thing is going to be vulnerability and authenticity. Because if you can just show your true self, something I always say is like, there will always be someone who needs to hear what you have to say. And it can be so scary to like speak to your stories or put something online for other people to like judge or whatever is going on in your head. Flipping that and being like, regardless of who's judging or who's going to give me hate or whatever, there will be someone like that I could change someone's life. And I've had moments of people messaging me or meeting at events and stuff like that where it's like, you've literally changed my life. I'm like, well, you've actually changed mine. So it does go both ways, even though it's not a we're talking every day, we're best friends type of thing. Sharing my story on socials was like therapy and like healing for me because I was able to find those connections and create a community where I didn't feel alone. My biggest thing is like authenticity and vulnerability and just like continuing to be yourself through the process of whatever the hell your journey looks like. And it's going to be so many wrong turns, but also so many right pivots and taking your audience along with that.
Yeah. And I think vulnerability is so important that like we always hear about being authentic, right, and being ourselves. But I think so many people can get caught up in like making something 7 layers deep with the strategy, the how to. And like you have people in your DMs often asking like, how do I do it? How do I build it? And like I've got the same being in the space of teaching people. And yes, there's strategic things that you can do, but at the core, you have to take messy action of just doing the thing exactly like you did. Because if you get caught up in all of like the strategy, and this is where strategy can have a bad rap because people lose, like they become robotic and it's like, hi, I'm Taylor and this is my story. It's like not actually just being organic and raw with the way in which that you show up.
Yeah.
Then you can leverage from there.
Totally. And I think now having my personal brand as a business and my podcast business, I would say I try and really separate the two. I don't have strategy for Tori Story. I don't sit down and have a month of content planned out. I post every single day, whatever's happening that day in my life. I make a reel based off what I like and what makes me excited to edit. And that's just what I enjoy. That's just like my outlet, my way to connect with my audience. Yes, there is paid collabs in there. Like it's my full-time job now. But even with that, there's still no strategy. Like I'll get a brand collab and I'll be like, okay, like how do I feel inspired to like make this aligned with who I am and what I want to do? If it's not, I literally turn the job down and that's just how I work. But I don't have strategy within my socials because I just want to be so authentic. I tried for a while back like last year and I was like, it feels so icky because I'm not posting in real time. And that's what I enjoy and that's what my audience enjoys. For the podcast, there's so much more strategy. We've now gone from side hustle to business and we've planned 20 reels ahead and like, you know, there's so much more strategy and that gets to be a business, but I separate them because I've built personal brand off my life and what's happening in this moment. And so I keep that separate. And I think you've got to know what your goal is too. Like if you're building a social media to be the business, okay, sure, there might need to be structure and whatever, but if you're building a personal brand, focus on that. Focus on what it is that you want to share to bring in the right audience.
Yeah, and we were speaking about this yesterday, especially with like the podcast side of things. The way that you girls have done it is like, yes, not necessarily what people buy the book would be like, okay, this is where you're going, but because you both just took messy action, you started your podcast and you guys didn't even live in the same state.
No.
You're recording in the car, just pumping out episodes consistently. Like you didn't make a cent on the podcast until like 2 years in.
Yep.
And it's like you actually just focused on community, you focused on like vulnerability, giving as much value as possible. And I think that's what so many people miss. It's like, oh, but I've posted consistently on Instagram for 5 weeks. Why aren't I getting anything in return? It's like this shit takes so much time.
And it's like if you look at almost any online business now, what are they focusing on? Their community, because their community is who buys their product. Whether you're a service person, product-based, like no matter what it is, almost every brand now is transitioning to like TikToks they're going to relate to their audience and not like, and it's like even looking at say activewear brands, they're doing all the behind the scenes of what it takes to create the product because that's what their audience want to see and feel connected and involved in the journey and not just the end polished product. Yeah. And so that's what Raw Reality is, hence the name. It's like we just bring you along with everything and it was a hobby and it still is. It's still our passion. And it's like we just wanted to bring like-minded people together and that forever will be our focus and the forefront of the business.
Yeah, and I think it's just so cool to always lead with that and then everything else follows because now, like you're saying, you are being more strategic, you are creating challenges and all of the things and you've got the connection, the trust there as well, all from stemming it back. to your story, which is really
Yep.
cool. I kind of want to change directions in terms of like your perspective on things, because I think it can be really common that we can get challenged in life. And I think our friendship group has a very similar outlook on this, where a lot of people get challenged and they take it as an opportunity to like step back. And it's like, okay, well, no, like I'm being challenged in this moment. And it's like a poor me mentality, or like, this is so fucking hard. Like I see it with business owners often. It's like, this is hard. And even us yesterday talking about like how much we're like chuckers are fucking floaty, like drowning. But it's like, we've both never like complained about that being a problem. And I think you have a really good perspective, being the background that you've come from with how many challenges you've had. Talk to me about perspective and your belief with perspective around challenges and how you don't actually see it as a limitation.
Yeah, well, I think something I learned early on, as I mentioned earlier, was I have no regrets. And I truly, truly believe everything works out in your favor. And a quote that I've lived by, it's tattooed on my ribs, is everything happens for a reason. And I would say this is where it all began, because when I was 11, I was competing at state champs and I stacked it and broke my shoulder. And immediately was like, my world is falling apart. This means no acro. And like, that's all my life was. And so I went into that completely in so much fear of like, I don't want to have surgery. I didn't cry when I broke my shoulder. I cried when they told me I had to have surgery. So there's that. But just that was day one where I was like, my coaches and I would just say to each other, like, everything happens for a reason. And from the age of, I was 10, it was 2011. And when I broke my shoulder, I was like, you watch me. Like, watch me come back bigger than ever, stronger than ever, and just prove to everyone, but most importantly myself, that I can get through this challenge. And so from early on, it was me navigating a broken shoulder at the age of 10 to get back and compete, because like acro was just like fucking everything to me. And so this will give you a very much insight of who I am. The doctors told me I would be out for 12 months and I came back in 9 months, because I was like, let's make this quick. I ain't got time. I
like 11 as well.
Yeah, literally. I did. So when I broke my shoulder, I was like the flyer, so the person flying in the air. But during my recovery after surgery and everything, I did grow quite a lot and ended up coming back as a base, which we all believe I was born to be, because I was just such like a stocky little muscly girl. So I just knew I'd always be.
The fact that you were a flyer is like wild.
I know.
Like,
everyone's always like,
thrown.
huh?
Like, I could see Lil being thrown, but I'm like,
yeah.
Nah, you're the strong girl.
No, I'm the girl on the bottom.
Muscle mom.
So once I came back at the end of that 9 months, I did go into a base, and it was just like naturally, like I was always strong. Even when I was flying, I just wanted to base. And so for the next 4 years, I was just growing as a base, being really strong, focusing on, okay, what's the goal? I found out you could go to worlds in the sport. Right. How do we get there? And so that was the drive from the get-go from there. 4 years later, I tore the exact same shoulder. It was just like an overtime tear, like overuse. And so I found out I had to have surgery again, and I was, again, devastated. At this point, I was 15, and I was like, you know what? We've done it again. It was worse back then. I was fucking 10 years old. I can do it again. So then from that surgery, I actually got really, really sick, because I found out I was allergic to anesthetic. So it's like, and so I was like bedridden for a few weeks, just like vomiting every single day. And again, from there, the doctors and surgeons said 6 months. I came back in 3. Actually dropped out of school in that time and was like, I'm going all in. Like, I'm doing this. We're going to Worlds. I'm making it happen. And then from there, again, I was 15. I wanted to make Worlds 2016. We missed out by like 0.01 or 0.004 or something like that.
Insane.
Very, very minor point to miss out on Worlds. But every time I had these setbacks, it wasn't like, fuck, I give up, like I'm done. It was, no, we go back and we work harder. And so the next Worlds was 2018. Started training for that, had a partner, went to Vegas in 2017, came home, she decided to quit on the year of trials. And I was like, cool. At this point, it rocked me, and I was like, okay, I'm a really good coach. I coached on the side. Maybe I'm just meant to put all my effort into coaching and help these athletes get to Worlds. Turned around, a few things happened, someone else quit, I then got a new partner, and we worked harder than ever to make 2 years of work into 9 months to make Worlds. So we actually qualified for Worlds in 4 months when you usually have a year and a half.
Wow.
Qualified for Worlds, worked harder than ever. This is when I started dealing with a back injury, but like nothing was fucking stopping me. Went to Worlds, we came 8th, and it just like lit the fire even more. I was like, I've had challenge after challenge. Everyone in the gym had just had like this seamless kind of journey. We were the first Victorians in 14 years to qualify for Worlds. And so I was just like, we're on. Like, I'm not stopping from here. Coming home from Worlds was like rocky from there. Like, it was just like, started the back injury, a few little things, came off the contraceptive pill, body changes were absolutely wild. Then the whole breakup and everything I spoke about earlier started to occur. So like I look at my career and I had a fucking journey. And it's that quote of like, I listened to a podcast the other day and it was like, we work hard to build our own mountains and like get to the top. And then once we get to the top, we're just looking at everyone else's mountain. But I stopped and I looked back and I was like, I've fucking worked hard to get to the top of my mountain. Like I had so many options to just give up and to stop and take another route. But I was like, every goal I've had was just too important for me to stop. And so it stemmed from when I was 10 years old because I've never let anything stop me getting to the goal. And I'm very much like, you say jump, I'll say how high. Like I'm doing it. And so I truly believe that's where that perspective came in. And as soon as I turned 18, I got that tattoo because I was like, this literally has got me through everything and it will forever get me through everything. And that's the whole thing of like, there is no failure, only learning. There are never regrets because everything happens for a reason. And I wouldn't be here doing full-time socials if I hadn't gone through that because that is my story. That's what created Tori's story. Yeah. And like, how can I regret any of that? Because it's made me who I am and what I do today.
Yeah, it's so true because like every time you go through something that's a challenge or that's hard, I feel like now I can kind of be like, okay, like give it to me. Like when there's a challenge, I'm like, okay, cool. Because I know that's like I have so much evidence that something better is on the other side. But I think when you can approach challenges with that mindset of like, that's exactly what's going to be a good story to tell, like at the end of this, that's what makes it. I think about that in business as well because I'm like, okay, if I'm being challenged right now, it's actually a really fucking good story to like add and not to unconsciously manifest challenges and make it a hard journey than it needs to be because I'm definitely guilty of doing that as well.
Yep.
But it's like, no, there's actually good on the other side of this.
And it's not being scared of change or scared of challenges because you can't face it. And like I've just proved to myself time and time again I can get through it. So anything comes up, I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. Like Jackson and I, 2 years into a relationship, we had to do long distance. Yeah, it's going to be hard. We'll be fine. And we came out stronger than ever. So it's just like perspective is everything. And, you know, people throw that quote around, but it truly is because if you can instantly flick your perspective and your mindset on like, what can I learn from this? How can this make me better? You'll never get stuck almost. Like you'll constantly just be moving no matter if it's through the mud or you're flying and you're Usain Bolt. Like either way, you're going to learn from it.
And everyone has, like you can never compare anyone's challenges and like what you're going through. Like I've never gone through what you've gone through from an athletic career. She's just certainly not an athlete. An athletic career standpoint, a family standpoint. But there's things that I've gone through that you've never had to go through with like young parents and like parents being together. Like, and there's no superior, one's harder than the other. Of course, there's like different, you know, levels to things. But I think it's understanding too, it's so easy to get caught in comparison online. And I've even had that in the past too from the lens of, oh, but she's had it harder than me. So it like makes sense that, you know, she's struggling and we can kind of gaslight ourselves into challenges where it's like, no, this is our version of hard right now and that's okay because this is what's making you who you are as well, which is so important.
That was something I focused on too through sharing everything on socials because early days when I was really bad with anxiety and depression, now if I struggle with it, I'm like, oh, it's nowhere near as bad as back then. I have nothing to like worry about. I'm like, both feelings are valid. I'm just at different stages of my life and I've learned I'm actually so good now because I went through that really tough period, but doesn't mean this gets to just be shit and I just get to cry and I just get to have a vent. Like it shouldn't take away from that. Yeah. And that's what I felt has almost healed me sharing on socials is because like so many people go, well, she's doing it harder. Like she's got worse than me. Like I shouldn't be complaining. You're allowed to have your shit and you're allowed to cry and you're allowed to be over it and be frustrated, whatever the feelings are, no matter who's going through what. Like just if you don't feel your emotions, you'll just block them down and you'll deal with them later on.
Yeah, exactly. It will
bite you in the butt.
Whether it's when you're 40 or 70, like it's coming back. Mm-hmm. What's been the most challenging thing? Like that's obviously your athletic career, but bringing it into business, what do you feel like has been your moment for that in business, whether it's been building your socials? Like obviously you've been hacked, which I feel like definitely would have been a challenge. But outside of that, is there anything that comes front of mind?
Yeah. I would say transitioning to social media full time. It was scary and it was always a goal, But because I was forced into it, I was like, oh, but I'm not ready. But like, when was I ever going to be ready? Because social media it can stop at any point. It can be taken from you at any point. You might just not get brand deals that month. Like, it's not sustainable. Not sustainable. It's not consistent.
Yeah.
Every month looks different. And so obviously you're taking the leap. And like, once you do, it's all on you. And if you're not doing the work, you won't get the jobs, point blank. So I think that was a huge edge for me, of like an edge that I needed at the time, because I was completely burnt out in other areas and uninspired. So I needed this push to be like, well, this is your time. If it's going to work, it's going to work. And it's been the best thing ever. So I would definitely say like that feeling of not feeling ready, but just like making it happen. And anyone I've spoken to taking on social media full time or going from their side hustle to making it full time, it's scary, but it's like you're just going to have to deep dive into that and figure it out, and like the whole like jump in the deep end and figure out how to swim. So I would say that. And then I would probably say of recent, our podcast going from a side hobby to a business and building a company with your best friend. There's challenges that come with that. We're not only best friends and have a business together, we live together. Yeah. So it's a lot, and we've navigated it so seamlessly and so beautifully. And I think it's because we set the boundaries from the get-go. But I would say wanting to like make that full time for us to do more with it, but equally keep that passion alive like it was at the beginning, and not just be like, it's just a business, because it's not. It's about the community and it's about what we can create for others. So I would say like navigating that, which is like present. Yeah. Just currently going through it.
I don't actually have any wisdom to share.
Yeah, I don't have an answer. But either way, Lily and I are so big on like just figuring out as we go. We didn't know how to bloody record a podcast when we recorded our first episode. We just went to JB, picked up some mics and figured it out. And I think this day and age with socials, people think you have to be perfect before you do the thing. Yeah. You just need to have the why and the purpose and go figure it out. Yeah. Because no one's got the perfect answer, not even the best business person in the world, or, you know, the most successful people. They don't have the exact answer, because the way they did it is going to be different to the way you do it.
Yeah, and it's the energy as well. I was speaking to Taylor about this when we recorded yesterday, and just like, you know, hardship in business and challenges and things like that as well. And she's like, hard is literally a part of it, and you can't feel like you're going to have to avoid that. Like, it's going to be scary going from, you know, building something on the side to going in full time. It's going to be hard transitioning. Like, totally. You can't be naive to that. Like, there's enough podcasts, there's enough information out there. Like, it's going to be hard. And I think when you can come to terms with, you get to choose the challenges that you have and you get to see what you're going to make a problem, like, that's so empowering, because it's like, no, well, this just gets to be a game versus like, fuck, I can't believe this is happening. It's like, this is literally just a part of it.
And it's, again, coming to perspective, it's like, choose your hard. Yeah. Like right now we're drowning in work, and, you know, we could be like, oh, fuck this and fuck that. I'm like, I'm literally working for myself. I'm drowning in work. It's incredible. The opportunities are literally endless right now. Sure, it's hard, and we're working until 9 p.m. and we're getting up at 4 and working, like whatever it is. But fuck, like, how good? Yeah. And it's like, yes, this is hard. It's work ethic. It's putting in the work. But like, we've wanted this to happen, and we're now in a position where 2 years ago we didn't think would be possible. Yeah. And so it's like, when you keep reaching these new levels, you're constantly having to choose your hard. And it sometimes, until you get to the point where it seamlessly happens, it's like you consciously have to make sure you're choosing the right hard, because it's easy to give up. Yeah. Okay, if you're listening to this podcast, you would have just noticed that it would have been like talking about something, and then I've just come back. We've just had a little glitch.
For full transparency, because I'm not even going to try and fix whatever that was.
But this is the thing. Like, it is about being real and vulnerable, because like, you look at these big business people, like I look at Stephen Butler, I pedestal. I'm like, he makes mistakes. Yeah. Literally. That's why he is where he is.
Literally. I was just saying to Tori, because I was like, oh, what was the thing I was going to say? And then it's like, then you glitch, and it's like, you know what? We're just going to bring it back. So don't mind that in the audio, but literally exactly like you said. Yeah. This is the realness. And I feel like I actually posted, side note, an episode once, and I thought I edited it, and I didn't. And someone messaged me just like, thank you so much for like just keeping that. It was so real and raw. And it was like a moment like that where I was like, fuck, what was the thing I was going to say?
Oh my gosh.
And I just posted it, and I was just like, okay, well, slay the day. Yep. That's me. So
roll with it. That's how it works.
But we were just speaking about kind of like drowning in work and that being the problem that you're choosing. And I wanted to kind of go into, because I was speaking to Tori about this yesterday. Ironically, we're just like in the shower together, as best friends do, washing our hair. I was like, I want to see more about like your actual life as an influencer, because I know you work big days. And I think even if I was to fully zoom out, people could potentially even be listening to this or watching YouTube and being like, okay, like you're so busy, like, you know, what are you up to? Like, how hard can it be being an influencer? I know we spoke about this on our last episode.
Yeah.
And then you're in it and you really see, like, yesterday you had things for like merch stuff. You had stuff for like other things.
I was literally doing 5 things at once on 3 different computers in front of me.
And then I'm like, Tori. And she's like in the fucking bathroom getting content of one thing, uploading it to this thing. And I'm just like, dude, like, are you all good?
Yeah, there's a bit of ADHD, can't do one thing at once, that's for sure. Can't finish one thing, but
literally.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to go into that of like the actual element of kind of like drowning in work, but equally too like not sacrificing things like your health, your food. You're always like, you know, kinesiology, you're prioritizing your health at the same time, which I think a lot of the time when we hear sacrifice in business, we think that we have to be the sacrifice. And that's something that I'm huge for, is like, and I've had my season of this, I don't ever want to sacrifice my relationships, my health in the name of success and in the name of chasing numbers. And I think that's something you do well. Like, we always have time for friends. Yes, we can all acknowledge when we're in a hustle season, but we still have time for each other. We still have time, especially you're always training, walking, and hitting your nutrition. Kind of going in 2 directions. One, kind of a bit of like a day/week in the life for people and how you kind of structure your routines to then support your values. I would love to go there.
My mind is going in 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm really excited for this question. I'm just going to riff and hopefully this answers your question. Let's do the first one first. So day in the life, week in the life. Currently with the season that I'm in, as mentioned, our podcast is now not just a podcast. We've transitioned into being and focusing on a brand and building a company. So currently we've planned the entirety of 2025. Obviously, give and take, there'll be things that change. That's life. But I'm now experiencing what it feels like to be a part of a brand that is like, you launch one thing, you're straight on to the next. There's no time to like, and I get when business owners say you don't really celebrate things because you finish one launch and you're like, oh, we're straight on to the next. Like that is currently how I feel. We did a shoot last week on Saturday. The first reel is due by Thursday. Like, that is quick turnaround.
And you had like 2 shoots prior to that this year as well. And we're like literally a few days into Feb for context for everyone listening. Like, you guys had 3 shoots this year.
Yeah.
Like,
our first shoot was the 3rd of Feb, Jan.
Yeah, it's been like over 20 hours worth of shoots already.
Yeah. So there's that. And like Lily and I both have our strengths and weaknesses within the podcast, and that's why it works so well. We probably couldn't do it without each other. So I'm very much like content marketing-ish vibes, and Lil's kind of like back-end systems, and then there's a lot we do together. But currently my biggest focus is my mornings are for me. No one gets in the way of that, and that is just like this morning I didn't get to go to work because it was raining. I was driving to the gym like literally so stressed, and not even stressed, but just like anxiety for no reason. I was like, it's because I didn't have my walk, and I know that.
Yeah.
So and that's why I was like, I need a walking pad. Anyway, so my mornings are always for me, and that looks like sunrise walk most of the time with Jackson and Ziggy. Straight home, we're doing either like ice bath, having beautiful breakfast. I'll do my journaling. And then at the moment, I'm straight to the gym because I want to get the gym done, and then I can focus on work and not have to. I find when I'm in this busy season, if I break up my days, I get distracted. So I'd prefer to just like get the gym done, and then I come home, I'm fully ready for business. I'll have a lunch break, go for a walk, or eat lunch outside. But it is pretty much, I'm going to say like from 9 till probably 6 p.m., I'm like editing either podcast reels, launch content, creating reels, liaising with my manager, now liaising with other brands for certain collaborations for the pod. We also have a podcast manager constantly on WhatsApp with her. She's doing all our website back end. She's always asking questions to like cross-check things with us. I'm in the middle of that, filming content for brands, editing that, publishing it, making it live, creating captions. Like, there is so much into it that like it's even hard to share because when you're in it, you're just focusing on getting it done.
Yeah.
So I try and document as much as possible, and I'm really trying to do a lot more behind the scenes of work, and I did a vlog recently and it was very loved. So I'm trying to like really push that because there is a lot that goes into it and people don't really notice it. And when you do work for yourself and you just want the most out of yourself and your business and whatever it is, there's constantly stuff to do. So then on the flip side, it's really important to have your boundaries. And I think I was saying this to you yesterday. I am usually a recharge person on my own, but I'm currently recharging. I have to be around my group, Jackson, go and meet people for a walk, because if I'm on my own, I'm either working or thinking about work.
Yeah.
So actually my alone time at the moment isn't productive. It's not rest, because I am feeling guilty for not working. So I am forcing myself to like, not that I don't want to be with my friends, but like I'll be like, no, we're switching off at 6 and we're walking at 6:30 with the girls or whatever it is. So that is kind of my switch off at the moment. And then the flip side of that question was
structuring the week, but making sure that like you somewhat answered it in there, like being able to structure so that you are still supporting like your health, whether it's meal prepping, organization, etc.
With that, because I have had such an intense health journey, you know, being the weight gain, the cystic acne, I was diagnosed with PCOS. I've had no choice but to support that. And I chose to holistically heal myself, which takes a fuck long time. It's taken me 5 years to finally clear my skin and be in a position where I can eat gluten again and dairy and not break out or look like I'm 6 months pregnant or be bedridden for 3 days. Like I have had to put in the work, and for a long time that came before anything. There was a lot of health anxiety that I'm only now just realizing was playing a big part of it. But yes, I've put in the work continuously, and I've literally been holistic now since 2021. But the journey started in 2018. So it's been a long time figuring it out. And now that's just like a no-brainer. At the end of the day, my big picture is having kids, and it has been from day one. And that meant putting in the work for my health. I'm still navigating irregular periods. It's something that I have been since 2018. So that is still a big thing, but having cleared my skin is like a huge weight off my shoulders. And like every time I look at my skin, I could almost cry, because I'm just like, we're here, like we've done it. But it's like health will never not be a priority for me, because if I'm not switched on, my businesses won't be. And so for as long as I'm neglecting that or not eating the best, and even like last night, for example, like we were like fishbowl, or do we just like make mince? And I was like, fishbowl's healthy. Like it's actually, you know, pretty good. But I'm just like, it's sometimes just the little things can switch me off. And because it's not a home cooked meal, that health anxiety pops in, and I'm like, we've got mince, let's just cook mince. Like it was easy. We don't have to go down the street. And it's just like making the right.
Jackson cooked us dinner.
Yeah, actually Jackson cooked.
We had the idea, but he cooked.
He's very much the dinner man. I'm the breakfast lady. But because of that journey, and again, it's brought me to where I am, I would never not put my health first. If it means business needs to stop because my health is falling, then that's what will happen, and that's the priority always. I know that I have the best support team. I know that I have backup options if that I need to, you know, whatever it means. But health and fitness is just number one and always will be, because it's going to support the future of being able to have kids, build a family, and then the business feels that like freedom and financial freedom in life. So it just like they go hand in hand. You choose your priorities.
Yeah. And I think like it's such an important message, because when you can actually zoom out and understand, okay, why did I start my business, or what was the overarching purpose? Like you need to understand that and lead with that first. And that was a huge thing for me coming into 2025 of like, I didn't start this to be able to like fly to Dubai and like drive supercars and do X, Y, and Z. Like even this, like I'm down here, yes, spending time with my friends, but like working, and I'm like, all I'm craving right now is to literally be home with my partner, my dog. And it's like, that actually is what is so fulfilling for me, and like spending time with my friends. So I think it's, and then of course having a healthy body, like the moment your health is compromised, nothing else matters.
No. Well, it's like that thing of, okay, you take away Ziggy from me, you take away Jackson, you take away the podcast. Like I've still got me and my health. Yeah. Take away my health, everything else fails. Yeah. So why shouldn't health be your first priority? There's literally no other answer. Yeah. And it's just like, again, coming back to what's your why? Why do we have the podcast? To build community, to support others. That's the driving picture. Why do I have my brand? To share my story, to make sure others don't feel alone. Okay, why did I choose the holistic route? so I can have kids. And there was so many times I could have chose Roaccutane and cleared my skin in fucking 3 months and had glassy skin. But it's not the reality. It's not healing the root cause, so then I can have kids in, 3-5 years, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to know your why, because when you hit challenges, if you don't have that why, you won't know what to do. You won't know what hard to choose.
Yeah. And again, because I'm bulk recording all these podcasts at the moment, Rebecca yesterday, she was like, for when we're talking about like challenges, and she's like, when you're going through the hardest thing you'll ever have to go through, whether it's personally or in life, that's the only thing getting you out of bed in the morning.
Yep.
Like, and I've probably butchered the way that she delivered that, but like it's the concept, and it's so true. Like, even when you're saying things around like Jackson, so like your partner, your friendships, again, still they should all actually be coming before business. And I think sometimes I need that reminder where Isaac and I've navigated that, and he's like, switch off. Like, he's like, it's not my fault that you scrolled or you got distracted in the day. Like, and I'm like, okay, true. Like, holding me to that standard. And yes, there's going to be hustle seasons and having to work longer days, but having quality time. Again, if I don't see my friends just in the name of I've got to do this for business, again, what's the point? Because and again, your business can be taken away at any point.
You're now sacrificing why you started to do it.
Literally. And I think that's such a good reminder for everyone, whether it is your health, and there's no right or wrong values, and someone else's version of health can look different to your version of health and my version, but you have to prioritize that first, because it only takes a health scare for you to and that's exactly what happened to me, where I was just like, okay, check, and it wasn't my health scare, but it was a loved one. I'm like, nothing else fucking matters other than spending time with even family and things like that. It's like, it's so, I'll see them next week. I'll see them next week. It's like,
there might not be a next week.
Literally.
And it's morbid to think about it, but it's the reality. And it's like the same as when I was suicidal. Like the only thing that got me out was envisioning my life in 20 years with my 3 kids, with now Jackson, Ziggy, a beautiful home. That at the end of the day is the big picture. So whatever I need to do to make that happen is my why.
Yeah. And I think that's going back to even like the strategy conversation side of things too, like, which is what I do with my clients. Like, there's not the strategy, it's being able to reverse engineer exactly that and understanding what moving parts play a piece in that of like, okay, this is the moving part based on your values. Even something I did at a like personal development workshop was we had to write our top values, like our top 5 values. So it was like, I think for me, it was like my relationships, my business, like health, whatever. And then it was like the top 5 areas I spend my time. And it was like what number 5 was for my values was number 1 where I spent my time. It was just
That's
like,
cool.
Like such a lack of alignment of like, okay, you say you prioritize relationships, or you say you prioritize yourself, and that's like your number 1 value. Yet solo time by yourself, it didn't even fit in the 5 categories. It was like business, family, this, that.
And it's like, yes, your top 5 match, but like, do they match 1 to 1, 2 to 2 to 3 to 3, not 1 to 5?
Literally.
Because then it's not lining.
Which I think is such like a good, I'm like, I probably need to do that myself of just like coming into alignment. Of course, your business, like you have to spend more time in your business than like your solo time. And for us, that is fulfilling. And like that to me, like does support myself and who I am. But I think it's so important for people to realize as well.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, I think I might leave it there because I love a short and sweet
big chat
episode. Like it was like we
Plenty
went in
of value.
so many different directions. I really was just like, I'm going to go into like Tori. I was like, had every intention of making you cry, to be honest.
Look,
but like
I was close, but I haven't cried in a while. To be honest, I haven't cried in actually a really long time. And I'm just pretty solid at the moment, you know?
You're like, don't fucking rattle me, bitch.
Don't rattle me, bitch.
But
I'm on.
I think it's so good for people to really just like see just like so many, like the multidimensional version of you of like the business side of you, the childhood side of you, which is so cool. So thank you for coming on and sharing. And I feel like everyone, like we're on each other's socials, like everyone should know where you are. But I can do the plugs for you because I know.
Yeah. Go for it, take it away.
If you need more of Tori, Raw Reality Podcast, the girls, like I know what's in store because I get the BTS.
You get the inside scoop.
I was literally like, how about you do this for the launch? Tori's like, oh yeah, like in their group
Just
chat.
like adding it in.
Incredible things in store for 2025 for the girls. So make sure if you're not following them on Instagram, you're following over there and listening to their podcast. I'm an avid listener.
She's
Every
a day
Monday,
one listener.
6 a.m.
Yeah.
And Tori's story on socials and YouTube. Got to watch her vlog. She's killing it. And more work content, I say. And if you agree, slide into our DMs because we need to get a rally behind, because I'm like, I want the business content.
Yeah. And like I want to. It's just navigating doing the business but then recording doing the business.
You need a videographer.
Yeah, basically. And my boyfriend is one, but he won't agree to doing it. So that's interesting.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this, and be sure to share it on your socials, tag us. We love seeing all the reshares, tags, takeaways. As always, I will catch you in the next episode.
Bye.
And that wraps up another episode of Simply Business. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. If that you enjoyed today's conversation, please feel free to share it onto your socials and tag me. I love seeing all of your shares and feedback on the episode. If that you're feeling extra generous, please feel free to follow me over on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok at Taylor Lee Consulting. And a like and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast would be greatly appreciated. I'll catch you in the next episode.